In this video, we will learn about how markets are related. But what does this actually mean? Well, what happens in the market for one good or service can directly impact what happens in the market for another good or service. Hence the term intermarket relationships. There are 5 intermarket relationships that you need to know about. So let's look at each one of these in turn. Joint supply is where the quantity supplied of one good is directly related to the supply of another good. In other words, when the quantity supplied changes in one market, the same will happen in another market. An example of this would be leather and beef. In this example, the quantity of beef produced for the market has increased. This could be due to a change in supply or a change in demand. As a result of the increased production of beef, there will be an increase in the supply of leather. The same would be true in the opposite direction. If the quantity of beef produced falls, then we can expect the supply of leather to also fall, because the two goods are in joint supply. Derived demand is where the demand for one good or service comes from the demand for another good or service. The demand for labor or workers is a good example of derived demand. For example, the demand for pilots comes from the demand for air travel, or the demand for teachers comes from the demand for education. The demand for doctors is derived from the demand for healthcare. Composite demand is a situation where a particular type of good is used to produce more than one type of product. For example, milk is used to make cheese, yogurt, ice cream, and loads of other things. In this case, if the demand for one product that uses milk rises, the supply of milk to produce another product will fall. Another example of composite demand would be oil, as crude oil can be used to make different types of products. For example, petrol, diesel, and plastics. If the demand for petrol goes up, then we would expect the supply of crude oil to produce diesel to fall. Joint demand is a situation where the demand for one good or service is directly related to the demand for another good or service. An example of this might be the demand for ink and printers. In this relationship, the demand for both products is directly related. In other words, if the demand for one product increases, the demand for the other will increase. And if demand for one product falls, well, the demand for the other product will also fall. Another example of this would be PlayStations and PlayStation 5 controllers. Goods that are in joint demand have negative cross-price elasticities of demand. Competitive demand describes a situation where changes in the market conditions for one good or service can impact the demand for another good or service. An example of this might be chicken and lamb. In this example, there's a lower quantity of chicken supplied to the market, and therefore the demand for lamb has increased, as lamb might be an alternative to chicken. You could consider the relationship between goods that have competitive demand as described by positive cross-price elasticities of demand, as these goods are substitutes.